right, everybody, welcome back to week 8 of Matrix Metrics. My apologies for missing you guys last week, but that just means we get to recap extra hard as we're packaging together week 6 and 7 before we move on to the drama that is week 8. We are barreling down the home stretch of our season here as we're heading directly at Wild Turkey Week, and there are still quite a few teams in play for those 4 WTW spots, so still a lot of meat on the bone of this season, if you know what I mean. Before we take a look at the standings, we're going to take a look at the highs and lows of the last 2 weeks to see where everybody stands and where everybody's going.
Perverts.
We're going to start off with the highs, as in the high score of week 6 and week 7. Neither of these performances were going to break any records, but then again, it's kind of hard to follow up what Scott did in week 5, so there's nothing to be ashamed of here. Kevin took home the $10 and the high score for week 6 in what will forever be known as the week of Ray Davis. And for one of us, that's a great thing. And for multiple of us, that is a very bad thing. But regardless, it happened. Week 7 high score went to Noah, and he really needed this one to end his 2-game skid. And it wasn't a record-breaking high score, but $10 is $10. If we've learned anything in the last 2 weeks is that Kevin and Noah are both real contenders, and they're both fighting hard for that number 1 seed.
Nobody say make money, money, make money, money, money.
Now on to some stuff that sucks to experience, but sure is a lot of fun to watch, and that is the week 6 and week 7 low scores.
You perverts want to watch me drink?
Week 6 led to Cody gracing us with his presence for the first time on a shot video for this season. Cody's used to being at the top of the standings, so it's nice when he comes and hangs out with us fellow bottom dwellers.
That's all I got.
Speaking of joining fellow members, Drew did just that in week 7 as he joined Daniel as the only members to take multiple shots this year. They're going to be in a race to the finish to see who can drink more by the end of the season, as we still have 5 weeks to go and then playoffs.
See you next week.
A double week recap would not be complete unless we talked about multiple bench boner awards.
Jerk off party?
No.
Let's do this.
No.
I like where this is going.
Okay.
I already mentioned that Noah reached the highest peak in week 7, but unfortunately in week 6, his team failed to get off the ground. One of the biggest reasons for that was the wide receiver position, as Marvin Harrison failed to even bring in a catch. And unlucky for him, 18 points from Tank Dell was sitting just a few bench spots away. No harm, no foul here, though, as Noah would have needed 51 anyways to even tie in his matchup, so not losing any sleep over this one.
Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again, try again.
Week 7's Bench Boner Award is brought to you by Mitch Bukite and the flex position. It's not unheard of to put a running back in the flex position, but it is a little rare. And it was the right call here for Mitch. He just played the wrong running back. Austin Eckler only put up 6 points in the flex position for Mitch, and Rachaad White sat on the bench with 30, leaving 24 on the bench. Mitch ended up winning by 30 anyway, so it didn't really matter. Once again, no harm, no foul. But what could have been with an unused boner?
Look, all that's happened here is there's been a very minor sinking mishap.
Last but not least, to sum up the last 2 weeks, let's take a look at the standings going into week 8. We have one team that has already locked up a top 5 pick next year, and something tells me if he doesn't have the number 1 pick, he's not going to be trading for it. Outside of that, the other 9 teams are all still alive for a spot in Wild Turkey Week. And as of right now, the ties don't really matter as there's still a lot of football to be played. We can pretty much assume that whatever ties there are heading into week 12 are going to be uneven matchups, so everything is going to resort to total points scored, which leaves a lot of work left to be done for a lot of teams. All teams left in contention just need to take a piece of advice from the late Al Davis.
Just win, baby.
And that leads us into week 8. Only 5 weeks left in the regular season, but every game matters as we're all jockeying for position in the postseason. I wouldn't classify these as must-win games yet, but they're getting pretty close. So let's dive in and see whose hopes are getting slimmer. Speaking of slim chances, that is what is happening here for Noah, as Mitch will take the 1.5 point lead as this one is final. Noah is still in good position here to make the playoffs, and he leads the overall series against Mitch 7-4, but Mitch will make this his third win in a row against Noah, and he'll need to hope that he stays on a heater if he wants any shot at Wild Turkey Week. Noah's up and down season continues, and he has to hope that it continues to trend upward as we head into the back half of this season.
Well, then I guess there's only one thing left to do.
What's that?
Win the whole fucking thing.
Another slim chance for Week 8 is the two players most affected by the Ray Davis acquisition. And to keep things going strong, they both have maintained the Ray Davis namesake. Kevin came into this one winning 2 in a row, and he's now going to make it 3 in a row and make it 11-8 all time versus Randall. Not all is lost for Randall, though, as he is still in the thick of the Wild Turkey race, and he gets a shot at revenge next week against Kevin's older brother.
And I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Speaking of vengeance, that's kind of what this matchup feels like, as Cody has made the commish his bitch for well over a decade now. Cody will still hold the overall series lead 17-5 here, but goddamn, this feels good for the man behind the microphone, as he'll be in a tie for first place and have a good shot at taking home $10 this week for the highest score in Week 8.
What emotions do you feel?
Next up is an intriguing matchup featuring last year's last place finisher and our current last place in the standings. Brian leads the overall series versus Daniel 8-4, but Daniel has a quarterback and a running back going up against a kicker on Monday night, so he's in a decent position to get his second win of the year. Daniel's only other win on the year is against Cody, so if he pulls this off, he'll actually hold the tiebreaker over Cody and move from 10th to 9th place.
Not bad for a dead guy.
And last but not least, our game of the week for Week 8 is two teams that appeared to be going in opposite directions. Drew is Scott's most played opponent in his RAR history, and he's also the only opponent that he has a losing record against, as Drew owns the overall series lead 14-11. Scott looked like a freight train from hell, as he had won 4 in a row battling back from an 0-3 start, but the only thing standing between him and 5 in a row is Najee Harris on Monday night. If Najee can pull it off, it'll lock these teams up with the same record and give Drew a much-needed tiebreaker with only 4 weeks to go in the season.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
That does it for this week's edition of Matrix Metrics. We only have 4 weeks left in the regular season, so I'm looking forward to some intense matchups and some free agency spending sprees. Hope everybody has fun trick-or-treating this week and has a happy Halloween, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Until next time.